right? Let's get into it.
Oh,
God.
Jesus Christ.
He had the girl in the bed and he didn't touch
Oh,
her.
jeez,
my God.
Lord Almighty save us.
Well, that was a bit shit. That was just fucking dreadful, really. Like, yeah, just... Nice one. Absolutely great. Well done, Liverpool. Great job, you know. We're in a title race, playing probably the worst Manchester United team I've seen in my lifetime. And we just do that. Yeah, let's just rock up and produce probably one of the worst Liverpool performances I've seen in God knows how long. Like, nice one. Good, you know, fair play. I mean, look, all in all, yeah, you know, Liverpool 0, Man United 0. Just, you know what the thing is? I'd say most football fans up and down the country, like neutral fans, would have sat down Sunday afternoon, you know, 4:30, like the main event of the weekend, the big game. Neutral fans tuning in, Liverpool fans tuning in, Man United fans probably watching with one eye, you know, especially the opening 10-15 minutes. We were all everybody was expecting Liverpool to win this game comfortably. Absolutely everybody. Man United fans, Liverpool fans. I mean, Man United fans didn't want to speak about this game coming into it. They were making jokes in the build-up to the show. You know, Gary Neville saying he didn't want to, you know, be there towards the end of the game. You know, was he going to be there when the full-time whistle blew? And obviously Liverpool fans. Look, every Liverpool fan I saw under the sun coming into this match predicted 5-0, 6-0, 4-0, 7-0. I even seen one person on Twitter claim that this could be the biggest result in Premier League history and be a 10-0 win. Oh, I mean, you had Jamie Carragher, for example, wearing the 7-0 jumper on Sky on the Friday night, and I'm like, just don't add more fuel to the fire, please. Do you get what I mean? Like, this whole notion that Liverpool were going to rock up and just absolutely beat Man United 7-8-0, like it was going to be the easiest game we've ever played in the history of the football club. Like, how stupid can you be, man? Don't get me wrong, as a Liverpool fan myself, I did expect us to win the game comfortably enough. You know, I thought maybe 2-0, 3-0, considering how bad Man United had been. And look, I don't even think Man United actually played that well. Like, defensively did a few good performances. Varane was decent, Dalot was decent, Luke Shaw was fairly decent, but like, other than that, like, Onana just kept hitting the ball out over the sideline. They struggled to play the ball through the midfield. Their attackers were fairly non-existent. I mean, they had a couple of moments, but even when they did have moments, they were fairly poor and woeful in attack, if we're being honest. But this whole notion that Liverpool were going to rock up and just absolutely hammer Man United was just so silly, because like, in football in general, like, have we not watched enough Premier League football to know that when a very good team plays a very poor team, like, it isn't always 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. Like, more often than not, sometimes it is. You know, Liverpool playing Sheffield United, Man City playing a Luton Town. You would expect, you know, the big teams to go play the smaller teams and beat them off the park and beat them comfortably. But even this season has been more than enough of an example that does not happen. And look, Man United, they're a bad team. Don't get me wrong. They're a very, very bad team. Certainly one of the worst Man United teams I've seen in my lifetime. But, like, they're not one of the worst teams in the league. Do you get me? They're not one of the worst teams in the league. So this whole idea that we're going to absolutely batter them, and I think where it stems from is because we beat them 7-0 last year. But that result was, in many ways, a massive fluke. Like, don't get me wrong, Liverpool hugely deserved the victory. But, like, Liverpool scored with every shot on target in that second half. Like, it was 0-0 after 40 minutes that game. Do you know? Like, so, like, the whole idea that, you know, because we beat them 7-0 last year, when they were seemingly very good coming into the game, we were quite poor. That was just one of them freak results that happens every now and again. Like, this whole idea that we were going to batter them, I just thought was very immature thinking, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. And look, ultimately getting into the game and discussing Liverpool, I suppose, in more detail, like, yeah, we were absolutely terrible, absolutely shocking. And, you know, the most disappointing thing about this from a Liverpool perspective is that this season, our biggest problems and our biggest deficiencies have been, we concede a lot of big chances still. Mainly because of the midfield. We don't have a lot of balance in our midfield. Don't have an out-and-out defensive midfielder. And we've obviously had a couple of injuries with our full-back, so that we've looked a little bit disorientated. A few defense injuries at centre-back, you know, Matip being injured, obviously Robertson's been injured recently. So we've had a couple of deficiencies in those kind of areas of the field. And in this game, we were fine in those areas. Tsimikas was very good, Konate was brilliant, Van Dijk I thought had a fairly decent game. Trent, although he played a couple of mishit passes, he was trying, you know, and he was actually trying to play the difficult pass, and he was trying to take the game by the scruff of the neck, unlike many other players who were just non-existent. Endo, I thought, was okay. You know, he struggles to move the ball quickly. I think that's his problem, and he's not really good possession-wise, which leads me to believe I don't think he'll be good enough as an option for Liverpool beyond this season, if I'm being totally honest. But defensively, he was fairly decent, and we did, up until Klopp made some nightmare substitutions, I think, taking off Gravenberch and Szoboszlai. Look, Gravenberch had to come off because he looked injured. And to be fair, Szoboszlai was having an absolute stinker. So I'm not against both of those players coming off. Gakpo and who else was it? Gomez. Gomez, good decision. I agree with that. But bringing on Gakpo and having 4 attackers, we lost complete balance in the midfield and we started getting overrun left, right and centre. But generally, Endo was fairly decent, hence why he stayed on for the full 90 minutes. And when Trent moved into the midfield, I thought he was okay as well. But the attack, oh my goodness me.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Look, we can't put too... I've seen a lot of people being questioning Salah, first of all. Come on, let's not go there. Salah, to be fair... He hasn't looked himself in the past while. He does tend to have these moments throughout a season, though, where he seems to lose a bit of yard of pace. He struggles to beat players. But what Salah does is he gets goals and he gets assists in big moments, and he turns up more often than not. We can excuse a man for once not scoring. Do you know what I mean? We can completely excuse it. What we can't excuse, however, is our other attackers, who it's becoming a little bit worrying. Our other attackers, like Diaz, has hugely regressed, let's be honest, since he first came to Liverpool. When he first came to Liverpool, I was looking at him and thinking, the early signs were reminding me of a Luis Suarez, of a Mane. He had that sort of natural ability to beat players. He's lost that, and he's not really doing much else as well, to be honest with you. Cody Gakpo, when he comes on, I just don't know about Gakpo, to be honest. He's a good dribbler of the ball, but he doesn't really do much else. He doesn't really create much chances. I don't think he's a bad player to bring off the bench, but again, I don't think he's a long-term option for Liverpool. Look, it's early days. He's only been here a year, so we'll see what happens with him. But I think there is a player there. That's what I will say. There is a player there, but he's just not that player yet, if that makes sense. And then we've got Darwin Nunez, and oh god, Nunez. I'm losing patience. I'm really, really losing patience with Nunez because, look, when you look at Darwin Nunez, raw ability and talent, he has it. He's fast, he's quick, he's strong, he gets himself into great positions, he tries, he gives it the big one to the fans. He's a real sort of, he's a cult hero type player. He's a player that the fans love to love, if that makes sense. And especially at times, barged into players. He's a bit over the top. He's a bit chaotic and mental. And I think as football fans, we love that more often than not. But his end product has to be seriously questioned, in my opinion. Since he came off the bench against Newcastle earlier in the season, he scored 2 goals that day. Since that game, he scored 2 Premier League goals in 13 matches. And he started the vast majority of them as well. That's just not good enough, I'm afraid. It's not good enough. And you combine that in with the amount of sitters, the amount of 5-yard misses, the amount of chances he's missed. And I think Nunez has the ability, and this is the most disappointing thing about Nunez. For me, he has the ability to be a good player at Liverpool. I don't think he has the ability necessarily to be an all-time great like a Salah, a Suarez, who, when he was at Liverpool was absolutely unplayable. Fernando Torres, these type of attackers. Even Mane. I don't think he's going to be in that bracket. But I think he's good enough, in my opinion, to offer and contribute a lot to Liverpool, especially with some of the players that he has around him. But again, it's that mentality thing. I don't think he has the mentality to play for Liverpool. I'll be brutally honest. He's very hot-headed. That whole barging into Evans and then booting the ball away straight after. He's very hot-headed, and, the occasion gets to him more often than not. And there's no doubt, those 5-yard, 6-yard misses, that's all in his head, and I genuinely do think he sees what people are saying on social media. He sees all the criticism about him, because even when he's celebrated at times, he's doing this and, he's giving it to the cameras and all that, and it's he clearly, the press and the negativity and everything else, it's affecting him. Absolutely no doubt it's affecting him, and that is very worrying, because as a Liverpool player, as a team who plays in the Premier League and a top 6 club, you're going to get criticism, no matter the case. Look at Trent, look at Van Dijk, every Liverpool player, even Klopp, for example, who, look, I know he can be a moany bastard at the best of times, But I've never seen a man get more criticism than him. Do you know what I mean? Like, Klopp would literally come out in an interview and say that, he accidentally put on the wrong shoes before work. And the world would fucking flip. Do you get me? Nunez, I don't know. Like, I think, and the thing is, like, it's not like he's a 19, 20-year-old. And that's the frustrating part when you look on Twitter. Everyone's like, Nunez will come good. Nunez will come good. He's been here 18 months now. And he's not a 19, 20-year-old. He's not a player with, like, what age is he? He's 24, 25? Like, he's not, like, don't get me wrong, he still has a lot of years to develop and get better. But it's not like he's, if he's not good enough now, I don't think he'll ever be good enough, personally, in terms of that mental aspect of the game. And honestly, if it gets to the end of the season and he hasn't improved, I do think Liverpool should be looking to move him on. Because at the end of the day, Liverpool need to aspire to be winning league titles, winning major trophies. That's what we've aimed to achieve in the last couple of years. I know last year was a disaster, but that's what Liverpool should be looking to achieve. And if you've got someone there who isn't good enough, in my opinion, you need to move him on. All in all, to finish up on the game, yeah, just absolute shit show. Like, we couldn't play 5-yard passes. Szoboszlai was terrible as well. Klopp substitutions in the first instance weren't great. And yeah, it's not looking good for Liverpool right now. I don't think it's the end of the world. At the end of the day, it's our first game we haven't won at Anfield this season, and considering where we were going into this season, if someone said you'll win every game at Anfield up until this game at the start of the season, I think most fans would have said, yeah, that's actually all right. I think it's just the context of how bad Man United were coming into the game, and how, again though, Liverpool weren't looking great though coming into this game. Performances were very poor. We were getting bailed out with late goals, and there is, like, on social media a lot of the time you have people who are like, Liverpool aren't even that good because of the fact that they're getting loads of late goals and late winners and everything else. To be fair, I think that is a skill. That ability to score late goals, that ability to handle the pressure and turn it around, I think is huge. But I do think there is a sense that we have overachieved a little bit this year. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion. And, whether Liverpool have what it takes to win the league, I don't know. Look, there's an opportunity to win the league. We'll talk about Man City in a few. They've dropped off massively. They're looking, they're not looking the same team. There's an opportunity there to win it. There is an opportunity. But whether Liverpool can take it, I don't know. Look, obviously, as a Liverpool fan, I'm going to discuss Liverpool probably more so than Man United. But Man United, to be fair, look, you do have to give them some credit. They came here in a very difficult position, finished bottom of their Champions League group in midweek. They've been, taunted throughout the majority of the season, taunted by Liverpool fans in the build-up to this game. And they got a 0-0 draw. And look, I know a lot of people were criticising Man United fans for celebrating the draw. Look, at the end of the day, it's a great result. It's a good result for them. I don't think it's a life-changing result. I don't think it's a game that Man United fans will look back at in 5-6 years' time and think, do you remember when we went to Anfield and got that 0-0 draw? I don't think it would be anything like that. But I think it's a good result. And to be fair, it was the first time in a long time we saw Man United show a good bit of grit and determination and fight away against the big team. Now, I do think a lot of that was because of the fact that Liverpool were genuinely terrible. But at the same time, you have to give, some of those Man United defenders a bit of credit. And this, for Man United now, needs to be a springboard, because they've had a very bad season so far. I'd still think, getting into Europe and even pushing for the top 4 is not impossible. But I think their next game is West Ham away. They need to show that same battle and fight and win that game. Otherwise, this draw is for nothing. It's just for pride, So, yeah, I think for Man United, good result, but they need to kick on now, in my opinion. And with that result, it means that Arsenal go top of the league. They beat Brighton 2-0. I was watching this game, even though it wasn't on Sky. I wasn't watching any dodgy boxes or anything for anyone asking. Definitely not, But yeah, first half, Brighton were just pinned in. I think Brighton are struggling hugely to play between the lines now this season. They're missing Caicedo and McAllister hugely. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Brighton can't play the same game that they played last season. Arsenal just completely pinned them in. And every time Brighton tried to play between the lines, and play out from the back, they just kept losing the ball over and over and over again. And then at times they would kick long and there would be nobody there because they're not used to playing that way. So, yeah, Arsenal just completely pinned them in, suffocated them. And even though it was 0-0 at half time, you felt like as long as Arsenal keep their composure here, unlike fucking Liverpool against Man United, they'll win this game. And they did. Goals from Jesus. Havertz scored as well. Kai Havertz, by the way, I think he could be the player of the month in December. And I was thinking, Harry Maguire, player of the month in November, and Kai Havertz, player of the month in December. Talk about two players who've been trolled, vilified, discussed to the depths of hell on social media, like in terms of being a flop. And fair play to both of them. I think Havertz is a strong case to be player of the month this month. Do you know what I'm hoping? Maybe fucking Darwin Nunez wins it in January then, but I don't know.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
Aston Villa, they dug out a memorable win away at Brentford. Aston Villa obviously have been a topic of conversation quite a lot on this channel recently, and we praised them hugely, beating the likes of Man City, beating the likes of Arsenal. This was a different type of win, and I think this for me shows there's even more mental resolve and resilience to Aston Villa, because what we've seen from Aston Villa for the majority of the season, at home, when it's going well, it's going really, really well. But away from home, they have struggled a little bit. They've had a few disappointing results: the Nottingham Forest defeat, being beaten comfortably by Newcastle and Liverpool, the draw against Bournemouth, for example. Just a few sort of slightly disappointing results from Aston Villa away from home, especially after beating what is two very good sides, Man City and Arsenal, at home. I've seen it multiple times with teams down the years, and who are going very, very well. They beat a couple of big teams, then they go away to a team you feel like, right, we should win this, and they slip up. It happens so often. And going away to Brentford, Brentford is a tough ground. I know they haven't looked probably as good as they looked last year, but Brentford, they cause problems for teams. They beat Man United a couple of years ago 4-0. They tend to do quite well in these kind of games, against bigger sides. But fair play to Villa for finding the answer, getting the equaliser, and obviously Ollie Watkins comes up with a massive goal once again. He's becoming a real clutch player now, Ollie Watkins, and yeah, fair play to Aston Villa. There's a strong possibility with Liverpool playing Arsenal next week that, if that game's a draw and Aston Villa win, and they're playing Sheffield United on Friday night. So, Aston Villa, you would imagine, will finish the Friday night at the very minimum top of the league, because they should be beating Sheffield United at home. They've won every game at home this season. Look, I think the Premier League has shown us there's no fucking formalities in this league. So, I certainly won't say Aston Villa will beat them 4 or 5-0 or anything like that, but they should be beating them. They should be beating them. I think Sheffield United, with all due respect, even with Chris Wilder coming back, are probably one of the worst teams in this league. So, yeah, look, for Villa, they're going along quite nicely, quite quietly. And next weekend could be a big weekend for Villa. I can't remember the last time they finished top at Christmas. It could happen. It could happen. That Liverpool-Arsenal game next week, by the way, though, oh my goodness me. Do you know what? I was looking forward to it, and now I'm absolutely terrified of it, to be honest with you. 23rd of December, please don't fucking ruin my Christmas, man. Come on. I think Arsenal, though, should be going in with huge confidence. And look, Arsenal, if they can go and beat Liverpool at Anfield, the confidence that will give them, and, going 4 points clear of Liverpool, with the fact that they'll still have to play Liverpool at the Emirates. And we also played them in the FA Cup, coincidentally, as well at the Emirates, but we'll have to go there in the league sort of in February. All of a sudden then, it's like, Arsenal could open up a gap, with Man City even further, open up a gap with Liverpool, and all of a sudden, it looks likely for Arsenal. I think Arsenal you can nearly say, are in a better position this year than they were last year, because of the fact that they have a better team now, they have more control, more experience. So, yeah, that is a huge, huge game. I'm just hoping from a Liverpool point of view, we get our fucking act together and turn up for that one, because, look, we're good enough to give Arsenal a game and make a game out of it, but with recent performances, if we play like we did against Man United, against Arsenal, they'll beat us 3 or 4-0. Absolutely no doubt about it. And the reason why Arsenal could win the league, and probably are looking in a good position maybe to win the league, is because there is a significant opportunity. Liverpool, Arsenal, Aston Villa, one of them three have a huge chance, in my opinion, at winning the Premier League. I think all three have their deficiencies, and all three have their vulnerabilities and drawbacks. That's why, one of them hasn't ran away with it already. But Man City are not looking the same team as previous years. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And to be honest with you, when they drew with Tottenham, when they drew with Liverpool, when they lost to Villa, I've sat here and I've said, I still think they'll win the league. I've come out and said that straight off the bat. Still have big players to come back, the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, for example, and obviously Haaland's been missing the last couple of games. But this result right here against Crystal Palace for me, the 2-2 draw, is more alarming for me than any of the previous results. It really, really is, because to be 2 goals up, goals from Grealish and Lewis, they're cruising, they're looking comfortable, they probably should have got a third or fourth. And to throw that game away and lose control in the game, for me, was very, very worrying. Very, very worrying. And I'm not too sure how it happened. Mateta scores. They then obviously get a penalty. Phil Foden, very uncharacteristic mistake from him on 2 occasions, giving the ball away firstly for the first goal and then giving away the penalty. Elise steps up and scores 2-2, and you're thinking, how on earth has that happened? How on earth have Man City thrown that away? That's bizarre. And yes, Manchester City do have injuries. They're missing Kevin De Bruyne. They were missing Haaland. But for me, even with Kevin De Bruyne, maybe with Kevin De Bruyne in the team, they would have more control in the midfield. But they were 2-0 up. So you have to look at their defence. Diaz has looked poor. Walker's looked shocking recently. Guardiol's been okay, but again, not brilliant. And I think Ederson as well, for me, has looked, very sketchy recently. He definitely has. And a couple of mistakes against Tottenham a couple of weeks ago, letting in goals, and should have got sent off. How that wasn't a red card, I don't know. What's mental is you had that instance with Ederson this weekend, and I think the referee gives a yellow, VAR decides it's not a red, and then you had Diego Dallo against Liverpool getting sent off for fucking giving away a throw-in. I mean, to be fair, firstly, it wasn't, it was a Man United throw-in. And secondly, he wasn't sent off, obviously, specifically because of the throw-in. He was sent off because of his reaction, but he was given 2 yellow cards. It was a little bit bizarre, that was one of the most mental decisions I think I've ever saw, to be honest with you. But yeah, some would say justice with the fact the game did end the draw. And yeah, Man City have a lot of work to do. They're going to the Club World Cup next week, so when they come back from that, they're going to have a bit of catch up to do in terms of having an extra game to play. We know in the past that hasn't affected Man City because they've often had games in hands and been able to figure it out. But yeah, I look at Man City and I think there definitely is regression there. And in past years, Man City, would usually get 92, 93 points, 90 points, sometimes even more to win a league title. I look right now and I think 85, 86, maybe even 84 points this year might be enough actually to win the league. And that's why I do think there's a real possibility for the likes of Arsenal, the likes of Liverpool, or even Aston Villa to win the league this season. There really, really is. Running through some other results from the weekend. Nottingham Forest 0, Tottenham 2. Kulusevski, definitely one of the most underrated players in the league, in my opinion. I remember when Tottenham bought him, and it was the same window when they were also linked with Luis Diaz, and people were laughing at Tottenham, being like, who is this guy that you've got? Who on earth is he? And yeah, I think he's turned out to be the better of the 2 signings. You would have to say so. He's been outstanding and definitely one of the most underrated players in the league. Big win for Tottenham, just quietly going back-to-back wins, away to Forest, difficult place to go sometimes. So yeah, big result there for Tottenham. On Saturday, Chelsea beat Sheffield United 2-0. Cole Palmer obviously gets on the score sheet. Nicholas Jackson does as well. I was watching this game on Premier Sports, and at half-time, I think most Chelsea fans would have been a little bit worried because they literally did nothing in the first half. They offered very little in attack, and you were thinking, surely you're not going to mess this one up against Sheffield United. Surely not. Surely not. But they found a way. They found a way to dig it out. They found a way to win the game. And to be fair, I think that's the most important thing. I don't think Chelsea are really going to do anything of any significance this year. But look, it's a good result for them and builds a bit of confidence. First time they've won back-to-back home games all year. So yeah, that's a bit of a mental statistic, that. Everton won 2-0 away at Burnley in the Sean Dyche derby. Fair play to Everton. They keep winning. They keep getting results. They keep getting clean sheets. Amadou Onana has been in flying form recently for Everton, and I think a big team is certainly going to come in for him in January, maybe even in the summer transfer window, and at least that will sort out some of Everton's financial problems. If that is the case, because if he does go, he's gonna go for a sum of money. Burnley again, they just look lost. I feel like they were going so attacking at the start of the season. They now look stuck between, should we attack, should we defend? And look, you never want to see a young football manager lose his job or anything like that. But at the end of the day, Vincent Kompany is well paid. He'll be perfectly fine after this job. He'll probably get another job somewhere, and he will be fine. Absolutely no doubt about it. Who won't be fine possibly is Burnley, because if they go down again, they mightn't get back up. And I just think Burnley are they're watching themselves, get relegated here right now. They need to make a change. Like, Company, he's clearly not cut out right now to be a Premier League manager for these group. And I know these players aren't particularly great, when you look at it from 1 to 11, but they need to try something different. Like, look at Sheffield United. They've tried something different. They've, brought in an ex-manager and Chris Wilder. I don't know who Burnley bring in, to be fair. Like, I don't know who necessarily you could go for, but I do think maybe they should look at making some sort of change there, in my opinion. Elsewhere, West Ham got a big win against Wolves, 3-0. This game is obviously live on Sky. Mohamed Kudus, what a performance from him. 2 goals. I remember seeing him for Ajax against Liverpool last season, I think it was, in the Champions League, and I thought, this guy is a player. This guy is a player. And I remember even thinking, like, he would have been a perfect replacement for Mane. He reminds me so much of Mane in so many ways, in terms of how he dribbles with the ball, how he beats players, how he can just finish from tough angles at the best of times. West Ham have struck absolute gold signing him. They really, really have. And, whether he is continues to be a West Ham player in the long term, it's hard to know. But one thing is for certain, considering West Ham paid a lot of money for him, if he does go at the end of this season, or even beyond that, which, to be fair, West Ham are, competing in Europe and everything else, so I don't think he'll necessarily be in a rush to leave. They're going to get a lot of money for him. And to be fair, West Ham fans should enjoy him while you have him, because he's an absolute baller, no doubt about it. And there was obviously another game that took place on Saturday, Bournemouth against Luton. This game was suspended in around the, I think the 64th or the 65th minute. Tom Lockyer suffered cardiac arrest and was stretchered off, completely collapsed on the pitch. Absolutely tragic. This absolutely awful. Like, when you see these kind of things happen, or when you see these kind of news or anything, like, your chest just sinks. And you're like, oh my God, that's just terrible. Like, that's just awful. And yeah, game gets abandoned, obviously completely right thing there. And yeah, like, my thoughts go out to Tom Lockyer. I heard he is responsive and he is alert now. So it's looking like, touch wood, he's going to be okay. But yeah, just a very, considering obviously what happened to him in the playoff final just a couple of, months ago as well. Yeah, just deeply tragic that, deeply tragic to see those things happen on the field, whether it be, a player or a fan in the crowd, or, any sort of instances where you hear those things happen is just absolutely awful. And like, there's no point obviously reviewing this game. I think, there's bigger things in life than football. And, I don't know what happens with this game in terms of, do both sides just take the points? Do they replay the game from scratch, or do they just carry on from that exact minute behind closed doors? I don't really know, but I think at the end of the day, that's not really important. And I think ultimately, Tom Lockyer, it's looking like he's going to pull through, and I think that's the most important thing. And look, fair play for both players, both sets of players, supporters as well. Everyone handled the situation immaculately. We saw Rob Edwards going around the pitch in tears, and that was a very, very deeply emotional moment for him. And I think, for the players in that instance, very, very hard to cope with something like that, because, I'd imagine as a footballer, you prepare for so many things. You don't ever prepare for anything like that. So, but yeah, I suppose we'll wrap it up there. Even talking about that whole situation has made me sort of reflect on me. Like, as football fans, as a Liverpool fan, you shouldn't be so annoyed sometimes with your team and with these performances, because at the end of the day, there's so much bigger things, isn't there, than football, and life is so precious and so short. And when you see these things happen, it's it is sad. It's very, very sad. And look, thankfully enough, it's looking like he's going to be okay. In terms of, he's alert and responsive and everything else. But yeah, But anyway, I think we will go ahead and wrap this up here. Let me know your thoughts on some of the weekend's games. Might do a preview for the Liverpool Arsenal game. Considering, it's. It feels like the biggest game of the season, but, I'm probably a little bit negative after what I just watched from Liverpool like a couple of hours ago, but or yesterday, I should say. But yeah, do let me know, like, your thoughts. your opinions on this weekend's games and player of the week, moments of the week, all that stuff. And yeah, we'll see you all on the next one. Subscribe. See you all soon. See you when I see you.